A brand new case coming from Lian Li known as the O11 Vision Compact. In fact, they came back strong with more enhancement and such. I will go through with you with all the goodies about this case. But before I do so, I'd like to thank Lian Li to have provided this case for me to share with you guys, and to Block Soda to have done the arrangement on the delivery. There are two color variants for this case, which is in black or in white. For the black case, for the top, the side and the front tempered glass, these are tinted dark, but you still can see through. Else for the white case, for the top, the side and the front is all clear glass. And there's only one dust filter in this case, which is at the bottom, where you can remove it easily, wash it, clean it, dry it, and you can just put it back. Very convenient. Moving along with the design, as you can see on the right, the whole bar over here is brushed aluminium with a very unique design power button. And if you have not noticed, right, there's this line cut. They did it deliberately to have it more character of this case, inclusive of the design at the bottom where you have the front I/O. This is indent in, so it does give some character too. You have a total of 2 USB Type A port, 1 Type C port, and a combo headphone microphone jack. Over at this section, you have the whole metal cover, whereby there are 2 rectangular areas with holes for it to ventilate at the night, to have more air in or to exhaust hot air out. At the rear, this is how it looks like, where you have tons of honeycomb holes, inclusive of the expansion slot and the hard disk caddy. Now, starting on this side, this is the PSU shroud area. This is removable, and right below the PSU shroud, this is the hard disk area, where you can remove 2 hard disk caddy, which I'll show you later. Then over at the top over here, you see this special grommet, right? In fact, it's designed this way because you can fit a 8.8-inch LCD monitor at the top, and to pass through the cables and to be connected to the motherboard rear I/O. Speaking of which, this is the motherboard rear I/O cutout. Right at the bottom, total 7 PCIe expansion slot. And over at this section, you'll be able to mount 220mm fans only. Now, as to remove the tempered glass and such, is pretty straightforward. Starting off with this side, you need to remove this thumb screw, holding the front and holding this lever over here, push it out so it's facing you, so you can just pull it out. And to place it back, right at the bottom, there are 2 holes, and you just glide the glass hole over here, the glass studs over here, so you can just align it. Then put it back. See, it's quite easy. Now, as for the front, it is removable, but I will show you later. And as for the top, there are 2 thumb screws, so you can remove this and pull this lever towards you, and it's been removed. It's quite easy. And as for the other side of the panel, where you have the whole metal piece, right? Same thing, grab over here, there's this indent over here. You can just place your finger over here. Make sure you support the front, pull, and it's been removed. And you expose the cable management area. As I mentioned to you, this O11 Vision Compact, you can convert this into a O11D. How do you do that? Well, remove off the side panel, which is the tempered glass, and remove off the top. Once you have done this, right, you're provided with this piece, which is meant for you to mount the top. Take note on the 3 notch over here, and it's indent in. So align this to the 3 holes over here. Make sure it's this way, alright? The L shape So you plug it in this way. Do not plug it the other way, where the L shape is up. This is wrong. So align it, and you can port it on. The first thing you need to do is to secure the glass and the top. And these are the screws. Please take note on the screws itself. As you can see, right, this is narrower. So the narrower one, in fact, this is the only narrow one, is meant for this. I'll go through the motion with you. So you need to screw this in. Now these screws are pretty tiny, so do not lose them. Okay, you don't have to force it. Just make sure that it's secured, and do it carefully, because you wouldn't want to scratch your glass or even your top panel. Next will be this. Again, slowly. You don't have to rush things. Once it's secured, move on to the next point, which is this. Then next will be here. Now, as mentioned to you, right, the screws are very tiny, so do not lose them. In fact, it's best to have a magnetic screwdriver so you can screw this in. Okay, once it's done, the last one, which is this. And this will be in place. See? And of course, with the finishing, the top mesh panel, which you can align it, see, secure in place. And to lock, same thing, to do some screws at the back. And of course, you place back your glass panel. And this is done. Now you have a O11 dynamic. When you're in O11D mode, as in like remove the glass panel from the top and to place the radiator or fan tray, right? In the event if you feel that the holding over here, right, is not strong enough, Lian Li have provided you with this pillar where you can mount it. This is only catered for O11D mode. And to fasten this pillar, there are a total of 3 screws. So one at the bottom, one over here, and one at the top. For some reason, if you want to remove off the front glass, you can. But I wouldn't advise you to do so because I don't find it necessary, but I'll still show you. First thing you need to do is, remember the screw that is screwed to the glass. You will need to remove this. This is the first thing. Then next, take out this panel, and you can just remove this thumb screw. Remove all the panel. It's quite easy. Just slide backwards. Then next, you will need to remove off this whole aluminium brush finish panel, where you have total of 3 screws. Let me just show you. Okay, you have this, this, and this at the bottom. So when you're removing this, right, best is you start from the bottom, which I will remove. And again, do not lose the screws. They are pretty tiny. Have something like a magnetic plate to hold your screws. Always start from the bottom to the top. So right now I'm just going to do the top. Once you have removed the 3 screws, right, you can just take this whole panel out. Now, for the glass, you will need to be very careful. First off, from the bottom, okay, let me just see if I could zoom in. From the bottom, there are 2 thumb screws, so remove them. You have to totally remove them, alright? But you don't have to worry, the glass will still be in place. So once you have removed this, next thing will be towards the front. We have 1 screw over here, 1 screw over here, 1 screw over here, and 1 screw over here. Always start from the bottom, because if you start from the top, right, imagine that you remove the screws, right, the glass might just fall off. So always start from the bottom, remove the screws. I drop it. Anyway, as I mentioned, please be careful when you're removing these screws. They are very tiny, do not lose them. Okay, let me just angle this properly for you guys. So once come to the final screw, right? Okay, which is the top. Make sure you hold on the glass. Okay, do not leave the glass. I mean, it's like do not leave the glass without holding it. Then remove the top screw. Once you have done this, alright, then you can slowly glide down. And once holding this glass itself, right, looking at the bottom, okay, it's hooked by this and this to the 2 holes. So if you want to assemble back, right, it's just the other way around as how I show you. For the measurement of this case, starting from the front all the way to the back, this is at 447.5mm. From the top all the way to the feet is at 446.4mm. The gap from the feet to the base of this case is at 15mm. But do take note that the bottom tray in fact is protruding upwards, so it lifts up the gap, which is 25mm. Now as for the width, from here all the way to here is at 287.5mm. And for the thickness of the front glass and the side glass is at 4mm, and the top is at 3mm. This is the interior of the case. It's very spacious, and all the cutouts are widely spread out, whereby some of you might witness that when you plug your 8-pin EPS cable, which is located at the top left hand corner to your motherboard, just imagine that if you mount things at the top, right, you have a very tight corner to feeder with the cable in order to pass through and to plug to your motherboard. Else of this, right, no, take a look, the EPS cutout is over here. You can just pass through here. There's such a big gap. Even if you have to put a fan or radiator, you're still able to hold. You get what I mean? So you can just pass through and plug it to your motherboard, which is good. And also at the bottom, now the 120mm fans, right, is only located at this section over here. There is still a very big gap. And to feeder the bottom, I mean the bottom cables, right, especially your front I/O and such, right, it's so much easier where you don't have to, really go into tight corners and to pull the cables out, which is good. Now speaking about the cutouts, this case in fact is ready for BTF motherboards, meaning to say if the motherboard has a back connector, right, you can use this case. It's ready for it. And these are the cutouts for the BTF. Now there are a total of 11 cutouts, which you have 4 over here, which I meant that these are for BTF. Then right at the top here, right, this is a very big cutout, as this case My goodness, kudos to Lian Li. They have really engineered this case properly. In fact, I love this case more than the original O11. Now, I mean the O11 Vision. Now, why I say this is special, you can mount your liquid AIO over at the side, but instead of the hose facing towards you, right, it goes to the back and you route your pump through this big cutout and to feed to your motherboard. I mean to your processor. That's so cool, right? Which I'll show you later how it's being done. Now, followed by the next cutouts, which you have 4 over here, 2 of rubber grommets, 2 of non-rubber grommets, and this again is for your BTF. And at the bottom, 2 very large cutout. Nice touch. Now, this case cater for EATX all the way to ITX, and for EATX, based on the paper spec, do not exceed more than 280. Measuring from here all the way to here, right, is 280. But I would strongly encourage you not to use any EATX board on this case. Reason being, right, as mentioned to you, right, Lian Li have stated that the depth of it, make sure that it's not 280. This is 280. So imagine that your board is covering the rubber grommet. If you want to route your 24 pin cables, right, you have to go underneath it and to do a curve and to plug to your motherboard. And this curve will cause restriction of what you're mounting at the side, be it fans, radiator, liquid AIO, and such. And also another point, this GPU supporting bracket, which you can, adjust it and to lock in place. I've unlocked it. I'll show you how to unlock this. So as I mentioned, right, if you're placing an EATX motherboard, right, this is 280. Okay, from here to here. You have to totally remove off your GPU mounting bracket. Even if you place lower, right, see, it is going to hit this GPU bracket. You got to remove it. And mind you, those people who think of using an X870E motherboard from S-Rock, which is the Taichi and the Taichi Lite, kindly do not go do so, because those are way beyond 280. In fact, it's 300 from here all the way to here. Okay, this is 300 mark over here. You have already exceed. Unless your site is using fans, okay, probably you might sacrifice one fan, but it's going to look very ugly. So trust me on this one, stick to ATX, your safest bet. As for the fan, radiator, and liquid AIO arrangement, I will first start off with the O11 Vision mode, whereby the side, starting off with the fans, you can mount 320mm fans, at the bottom 320mm fans, and at the rear 220mm fans. As for radiator and liquid AIO, at the side you'll be able to mount 240 or 360. At the bottom you'll be able to mount 240 or 360. But kindly note, do not mount any liquid AIO at the bottom, okay? Those measurements that I mentioned, 240 and 360, is only meant for custom water looping radiators. And at the rear, you can't mount any. Now, coming to the O11D mode, whereby you have placed the top with this fan tray, be it the side, the bottom, and the rear is the same configuration as O11 Vision mode. But for O11D mode, you have an advantage of having additional things at the top. For fans, you'll be able to cater for 320mm fans or 240mm fans. And for radiator and liquid AIO placement is 240, 280, and 360. For GPU placement, well, this box total length is 420. If you see carefully, right, it hits the PCIe slot. So practically, you can fit a 420mm graphic card. But I would say that the limit you should follow Lian Li's spec, which is 410. So this is how it's catered. Now another amazing thing is that the bottom section over here where I talk about where you can place the fan, you can remove this tray. You will need to unscrew these two screws over here, which I've already done. Then you can just remove. And you can populate your fans, do the cable management before you plug it in. And to plug it in, follow these three guiding notch to the hose at the bottom. Just align it, sit in place, and to screw them with the screws to hold it. Now this is how the layout looks like, and as I mentioned to you, right, see the EPS cable is actually through here, and it connects to your motherboard EPS socket. Very convenient. And the part is whereby I mentioned that you can mount a liquid AIO over here and to route the cables. Well, this is the Hydroshift from Lian Li, the LCD 360. See? Very brilliant idea. No cable, no nothing. The radiator is in fact located at the back. Let me just show you. See? And you can route the tube, as there are two channels over here. You can put it here or put it here. So when you route it here, right, you can just push the pump block through this cutout. Then you'll be able to mount. Let me just show you. You just need to tuck properly. See? You'll be in place. Now, as mentioned to you at the top, you can mount 280 if you choose to put in O11V mode. I'm just going to show you. This is the Arctic Liquid Freezer 280, and it has a thickness of 63mm, inclusive of the fan and the radiator. Look at the gap over here. Okay, it is more than enough. If I'm going to slot this in, see, it flushes, it sits nicely. There are plenty of room behind. Fantastic, right? I mean, this time I have to give it to Lian Li. They have calculated almost everything. In fact, the height of this, right, it's about 90. So that's why I'm able to fit the 280. And mind you, 280 has a length, or should I say the width, right, at 140mm. So if you intend to place any liquid AIO like 360, 280, even 240, no problem. You will just pull through. Reason being, right, this has been pushed downwards and there are a big gap at the top. So for those of you who actually do want to put Arctic Liquid Freezer, due to its thickness, right, you don't have to worry about anything. You can just place it in. And for people who does custom water looping, there you have it. You can put a 60mm rad at the top. Not an issue. And even a 280 rad, sorry, 360 rad at the side with custom water loop. But do take note about the height, because you wouldn't want to protrude out, which, you know, goes above the motherboard. Then you'll be having a problem mounting your GPU. Now, speaking about the GPU height, now measuring from the case, okay, probably I'll do this. Okay, measuring from the motherboard, which is here, to the side, this is at 180mm. In fact, it should be around 175mm, because the you know, when you place the motherboard, right, it's out, so it's no longer 180. From the motherboard base, I mean the case, to here is 180, but when you place the motherboard, right, you'll be 175. Just make sure that your graphic card height is not longer than or taller than 163. because you need to take note that you need to place your 12-volt high power connector on the graphic card, or even your, I should say, the 8-pin times 3 cable to your older generation graphic card. Don't go beyond 163. And same goes to air cooler. For air cooler height, right, I would say that have around at 165 and not more than that. If you're more than that, right, you might hit the side panel. Before I move on to the back to show you the cable management area, I'd like to talk about the Hydroshift on how I mount this on the side bracket. Now the side bracket can be removable, but kindly do not remove it while you're mounting the Hydroshift, because if you are to remove the side bracket and to mount the radiator, right, you can't place it back. So make sure that the side bracket is fixed, not to remove. Then next thing, on the Hydroshift itself, right, there are tons of things that you need to remove. Starting off with the tube brackets, which is located above the radiator. Okay, and below there, right, where the tubes are and your PWM fan cable and the ARGB cable is guided with this bracket, which you will need to remove too. Okay, this is beneath the cover, so you need to remove this too. Once done, right, you will also need to remove this C-clamp, whereby the radiator, okay, this is the radiator, and this is the radiator, and this is the clamp that holds the tube, so you need to remove this too. And last but not least, the whole frame of this design, whereby when you remove this, right, it gives you the correct size to fit into a bracket. With this at the side, right, you can't fit into a bracket, so you have to remove this. Once done, remove the fans together with the radiator screw, take it out. Then put your radiator in place. Okay, once you have done that, right, as you can see at the top, align the tube to either this slot or this slot. Now, based on the fact that this pump head is so big, you can't squeeze into this slot, right? So what you need to do, remove this tray, or should I say the side panel. Then you can just push the tube in and to align, followed by pushing your pump through this big cutout, which you can see over here, gone through. And once this is done, right, you can put this back. Okay, then coming to the front, where I mentioned to you, remove all your fans and your radiator screws, right? Now you'll be able to fit in the fans and to mount the fans on the radiator with this radiator screws. So this is quite simple, and I'm still amazed on how they designed this. Very well thought. Now earlier on I mentioned that there is this cutout with rubber grommet, and what's this for? Well, if you guys have not noticed, I have done the content on this Turing Smart screen, and I've shown how I did the customized display with all the stats and such. If you guys are interested to know and have missed that, you can click on my top right hand corner and it will take you to that content. So as I mentioned, at the top here, right, you can place an 8.8-inch LCD, and this does come with a cable. If you have purchased the 8.8-inch LCD with the internal USB connector, you can, don't worry about this cable. You can just plug, hide underneath the motherboard, and to plug to your USB connector. But if you do not have that, right, you only have this cable, which plug to the Type C and to the Type A. There is USB, that is. What you need to do, go through this rubber grommet. See? So that you can plug to your motherboard and you have your screen over here. And of course, in the package there are some double-sided tape where it tapes to this LCD and you can just tape it above. It's pretty straightforward and easy. This is the other side of the case whereby it shows you the cable management area. Now, starting with this bracket, as I mentioned to you, you can remove it. And how do you remove this bracket? You will need to unscrew the thumb screw at the top. You have to take it out all the way. Then once that's done, right, from the top, you can just pull. See, it will just come out. And you can like swap or flip and to place it back. And when you place it back, right, take note on these two guiding screws over here. It's supposed to glide through here and through here. So with this said, when I flip, I can just put it back. See, this is in place. And when you do this, right, you can't make use of the guiding slot over here, which I showed you earlier for the Hydroshift LCD. So do take note on this. But if you are not using the Hydroshift, you are using your own custom water loop, right, this will be very useful. Reason being, right, it gives more space to the front. In fact, the front, right, if you do it this way, right, you have 100mm depth. So you can place a 60mm rad or even a 90mm rad together with a 25mm fan, and you will still not go over the motherboard. You still can plug your GPU. Then next will be this swivel panel, which I showed you earlier. Now, this is for you to cater 2 additional SSD to be populated over here, which is the 2.5 inch, and this is removable. Over on my right side, you're given with no cable tie points, but with 6 Velcro strike points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the below 6. And they are designed, these two are designed in a very unique way. As you can see, it holds the cable over here. And how it's been done, right? Okay, let me just remove this. Push it towards the front, you can remove. So this bracket here is to cramp the thick cables. Else, for the Velcro stripe area, you can place thin cables so we can separate them. I'll just leave this here. Okay, probably it's a good idea to put it back so that I can illustrate the space. And to put it back, right, you just need to push it forward. Align, push it forward, and that will be in place. Now for this bracket, right, there's only 2. So take note on this. Now over at this section, the top section, this is for your PSU, and this bracket you can dismount it by unscrewing 3 screws, which is 1, 2, 3, sorry, 4 below the 4th one. So once you remove all these screws, right, you can take out this bracket, and to mount your PSU and to put it back and to lock it in place with the 4 screws. Now for this section where the PSU is, right, there is a cushion over here, so you can just sit. Nice thought. But the only thing that I wish that it can be done, which this case can't do, which is to swap the PSU location, whereby if you do not use the hard disk caddy, right, there are 2 of them at the bottom, you can put your PSU below so that you're leaving more space for the motherboard rear, right, to dissipate heat off and not accumulating it. If you place the PSU, right, it's so near to the motherboard, it's in fact accumulating heat. So hopefully that the next future build, right, you can interchange. The specs given by Lian Li is you can go all the way up to 220mm, which reaches here. Okay, if you were to put a 220mm PSU, right, you can't use this bracket, you have to remove it. This is an obstruction. And for 160mm PSU, right, it's only here. Okay, it doesn't touch the bracket. You can use it. And also very mindful of what they have done, right? Why they have placed the PSU over here, because of this bracket over here. You can route your modular cable nicely to this, and to go through to your, go through the ground and to go to your 24 pin socket of your motherboard, and to all those section like the GPU and such. Nice thought. It's just the correct alignment, in fact. And it's so near to the 8-pin EPS. See, it's a short route. So your cable management, right, will be done all over here. Now coming to the hard disk caddy, you can remove this too, but you will need to remove, not say remove, I would say unscrew and remove. Take out the two thumb screws. Then this two caddy, right, this two hard disk caddy, right, is held by this studs over here. So you got to push it up. See, when you push it up, you can pull up. And to put it back, you just align back and push it down, and it will be in place. And to lock in place, just fasten the two, fasten the thumb screws. For the front I/O socket, in order to make it work, you will need to connect all these cables to the motherboard. This is coming with the case. Starting off with the two USB type A port, which is 3.0. You need to connect this to your motherboard. Followed by the type C connector, which is this. Then the combo headphone microphone jet will be this, the HD audio. And there's one which is say front panel. This is meant for your power switch. As for the accessories, Lian Li is always consistent with what they pack in their case, which you will have the instruction manual telling you how to mount and to dismantle stuff, and inclusive of the accessory package like the screws that you need and such, where you see in this box a thank you card. These are the rubber grommets for your hard disk, additional clips for your case in case that those are broken. You can replace with this, a bag of screws, all the fan screw, the hard disk screws, the motherboard screws, and much more. And another bag of SSD, the bolting tool to mount the standoff and some standoffs and such. 3 Velcro stripe. My thought about this case, only one word: pitch perfect. And I love this case as compared to the previous O11 Vision. That case is seriously a toast box. Even suggestions from many technicians and such, or even from fellow viewers, right, saying that, hey, probably put some more fans into it, thicker fans, do a push-pull configuration and such. But unknowingly that in my country it's hot and humid, surround the atmosphere, right, is actually warm air. So whatever you pull into the case, right, is warm air, unless you turn on the aircon. So probably that's the problem with the previous version O11 Vision, whereby they have not thought about the atmosphere in hot and humid country. And I would actually very much want to build a system on that case, but I can't. Reason being, I can't put any high-end stuff. I will need to put low-end or mid-range, which that will not help me at my work. Alright, aside from that, this case is why pitch perfect. First, it allows me to convert this Vision to a dynamic, having a top fan tray to include more fans to exhaust hot air out. So this is one very good bonus point which I like. So in the end, right, if let's say I were to choose Vision and Vision doesn't do well on the thermal, right, I can just switch the design. Well done. And second thing, this case is not too big, not too small. just the right size, which I like it. And it's very spacious to work with. All the cutouts are widely spread. You don't have to worry that you need to have tight corners to pull the cables and such. There are none existing in this case. In fact, all is nicely reached. Even if I were to populate the bottom fans, right, I still can reach the cable. See my fat fingers, see, no problem. And next thing is that you have weakness that I've taken out all the panels, and to put them back together, all these lines, right, align perfectly. See, no gaps, no nothing. So kudos to Lian Li, they have actually put into details and to set it pitch perfect on the engineering side, and also the design. And one thing I like about why they have done with this case, right, everything can be removable. Like the top, the front, all the panels, the top, the tray and such, which is perfectly alright with me, because things like at times goes by, right, when you look at the case, which is square and rectangle, you find that it's bought based on the colors. I can do some changes, just like what I've done on my O11D Mini. I've done the top panel by replacing with a veneer sheet, which is chameleon purple, or I can put carbon fiber kind of material, just looking at like a car, or I can even do other colors. And best part about this case, right, I not only can do at the top, I can do at the side over here, or should I say the front. I can put red fiber carbon kind of material or such, which reminds me, maybe can actually make this as a Lamborghini. Just kidding. So there are the things that can be done on this case itself. Another factor is that this case is BTF ready. Then you say, if you purchase a motherboard that is BTF style, having the connectors at the back, you don't have to purchase another case. You can use back this case. And besides this, right, a very clever design by Lian Li. Kudos to you guys. I don't know how come you can come up with such fantastic ideas. You can mount the liquid air at the side and not stucking out the tube. As you can see, most of the build, I can tell you that in Reddit forum, I'm so sick and tired and looking at builds after builds with all the same thing. It's like clones after clones. But this, right, having something fresh, whereby you don't get to see the whole AIO tube sticking out. Instead, it's being hidden. You can just port the tube at the back and to route it over here, so leaving a very short path, which is clean, neat and tidy. Well done. I really appreciate what they have actually done. Then besides this, as I said that the engineering is seamless, it's like pitch perfect, I also noticed that the material that they have used in this case is far much more superior. See, it doesn't flex. Even this doesn't flex. It's so sturdy. It's like a brick, not prick, sorry. As compared to the previous O11 Vision. That's the reason why I love this case so much. I will be building a high-end system in this. That will be on the next episode. And the only thing that I wish Lian Li can add to this case, first of all, let's talk about the PSU. As I'm very conscious about temperature and such, and I don't use hard disk, most of the time I'll be using M.2s or external exposure, I would remove off this cage. If they can improve on this acetate to have the PSU, right, instead at this section, right, put it at the bottom, so that I can have more space for my motherboard to breathe. Heat will not be accumulating at the back of the motherboard. That will help the thermal. Now besides this, right, probably I would say that I personally like lighting effects if only it has a physical controller. So what they have actually done on the Evo RGB, that is a brilliant idea, where you have the ARGB control built in at the IO panel, or maybe down here, where you can toggle the switch physically. I don't have to install application on my system. that will probably, you know, have some areas that malfunction and my ARGB not functioning. So having the physical control over here, right, probably add, just like the Evo RGB, I know I'm going too greedy, but a subtle touch on two lines. That's all I asked for. Alright, with this said, I'd like to thank Lian Li that provided this case for me to share with you guys, and to Block Soda to have done the arrangement on the delivery. And for those of you who are actually new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.